Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, Igcse Biology Help. In today's video, I'm going to be solving the 2023 specimen paper for the paper 1 multiple choice. This is the core exam, so this is equivalent to the paper 2 multiple choice exam, but this is the paper 1 core. So make sure to subscribe and like my videos in order to support this channel, and let's start solving. Number 1 says the diagram shows a plant. Which characteristic of living organisms is shown by the plant in the diagram? Now over here we can see that when the direction of the light was coming from the left, the plant was actually leaning towards the left side, the direction of the light. So this is actually sensitivity because the direction of the light was coming from the left side over here, so the plant was bending towards the light. So this is actually phototropism, which actually indicates sensitivity. The answer is going to be D. Number 2, humans have the scientific name Homo sapiens. What do the two parts of this name refer to? Now we know that this is actually the genus and this is the species. So our answer is going to be A, genus and species. Number 3, the diagram shows a stonefly larva. Use the key to identify the stonefly larva. Now, number 1 says has 2 cerci at the end of the abdomen. Now, over here, this is the cerci, and this is the abdomen, this part until over here, and this is the thorax and the antenna and the gills, of course. So they say that it has 2 cerci at the end of the abdomen. This is actually correct, as we can see that there is one, and there's this another one over here. So we're going to go to 2. Number 2 says the abdomen longer than the thorax, or the thorax is longer than the abdomen. Now the abdomen is actually longer than the thorax, and the thorax is actually shorter. Over here we can see that this is the abdomen and this is the thorax over here. So it's actually shorter than the abdomen. So our answer is going to be A for this question. Number 4, which part of a plant cell controls the movement of substance into and out of the cell? Now, of course, we all know this is the description of the cell membrane, which is actually partially permeable. So this is going to be our answer. Number 5, the diagram shows the structure of a plant cell. What is the function of the specialized plant cell? Now, we know that this is actually the root hair cell, because it has the long extension, which actually increases the surface area to absorb more ions and water. So let's choose a function from its functions. A says it absorbs carbon dioxide from the air. Of course, this is incorrect because it's actually under the ground. B says it absorbs ions from the soil. Now, actually, this is a correct description or function of this specialized plant cell, which is the root hair cell. So B is going to be our answer. Number 6, the photograph shows a chloroplast magnified 7,000 times. What is the actual size of the chloroplast? Now, over here, we know that whenever we get a question like this, we draw the I am triangle, which shows us the types of calculations that we should be making in the specified question. Now over here I'm going to be drawing it, and they over here asked for the actual size. Now the actual size is in order to get it, we're going to divide the image size over the magnification, and they gave us that the image size is 70 millimeters and the magnification is 7,000. So we're going to be dividing 70 over 7,000. That is going to give us, it's going to give us 0.01. C. Number 7, how do carbon dioxide and oxygen move into and out of a mesophyll cell? Now we know that any oxygen or any gas really will move into the cells and out of the cells, and the carbon dioxide will move by the diffusion process. So whenever we get any gases, it's going to be automatically referring to diffusion. So that's going to be our answer. Number 8, what are the features of the active transport? Now let's see the table and what each table says. Now over here, A says that it occurs through a partially permeable membrane. This is actually correct. Particles move from a higher concentration to a lower concentration. Now, this is actually incorrect. It actually moves from a lower concentration to higher concentration, because we know that the osmosis and the diffusion moves from the higher concentration to lower, but active transport is the opposite. It's from lower to higher. So our answer is going to be C, because this is the only option where the it's not from higher to lower concentration. So that's going to be our answer. Number 9, the data shows the concentrations of a sugar and starch in an onion. The onion is tested with Benedict solution and iodine solution. Which set of results is correct? Now we know that if there is no starch, it's going to remain orange-brown. If you want to know more about iodine and Benedict and all food tests, you can check out my video that I did about the paper 6, where I explained all of these food tests in detail. Now, we know that we test starch using iodine, and if it's negative and there's no starch, it's going to remain orange-brown. So we should choose something where there is orange-brown or brown. So we're going to be actually choosing between B and D. Now, there is actually sugar in this, so we're going to be choosing red, orange, yellow, green, any color from this. If we have it, that it means that there is actually sugar. So let's choose. Let's see B or D. Now B says that it's going to be blue. This is actually incorrect, because blue is the color if there is no sugar. So this is actually the incorrect option, and D is going to be our answer. That is because we know that brick red or red is actually the color indicating a positive result of Benedict's, or it indicates that there is sugar present, and in this solution there is actually sugar. Number 10, the diagram shows a protease enzyme catalyzing the breaking of a part of a protein molecule into smaller pieces. Which diagram has 3 correct labels? Now, over here, they're asking about the correct labels. So we know that this is not the product. This is actually the substrate, this part. And the product is actually this one, this circle one. So actually our answer over here is going to be C. That is because this is actually the enzyme that is correct, and this is the active site, this part inside. This is the active site, and this is the substrate. So our answer is going to be C. Now D is incorrect, because this is not the substrate, this part is not the substrate, and this is the active site, and this is the product. But this one is incorrect, and they asked for the 3 correct labels. Number 11, the apparatus shown was used in an experiment. The carbon dioxide content of the water in each test tube was measured at the start of the experiment and again 3 hours later. In which test tube will the carbon dioxide concentration decrease? Now we need the lowest carbon dioxide concentration. We know that this is going to be during the photosynthesis process. So we're going to be choosing C. This is because there is photosynthesis. Number 12, the diagram shows a cross-section of part of a leaf. What is the name of the cell labeled X? Now we know that this is actually the palisade mesophyll cell, because of the large number of chloroplast that is present inside of the cells over here. So our answer is going to be C. Number 13, why do plants need nitrate ions? Now we know that nitrogen is actually a component of amino acids, protein. So our answer is going to be A. 14, in which part of the body of a mammal does physical digestion occur? Now over here we can't be choosing A, because this is where the bile is stored. So no, this is not physical digestion, mechanical digestion. So B, liver, this is actually incorrect. And the mouth, this is where physical digestion occurs because of the presence of teeth. So we know that teeth is the mechanical digestion, and this is where there is the food is being physically broken down, not by enzymes or chemicals. This is actually physically. So C is going to be our answer. Number 15, the diagram shows part of a human digestive system. Which structure produces lipase? Now we know that lipase is actually found or produced in the pancreas. So we're going to be choosing the arrow pointing at the pancreas. This is actually C. 16, the photomicrograph shows a cross-section through the root of a buttercup plant. What is the main function of the tissue labeled X? Now we know that X is actually the xylem, so we're going to be choosing a function of the xylem over here. Now we know that the xylem transports water and mineral ions, so of course it's not going to do photosynthesis or respiration or transport of sugars. Transport of sugars is actually by the phloem, which is transporting amino acids and sucrose. So our answer is going to be D. 17. The diagram shows two shoots at the start of an experiment on transpiration. What are likely readings on the spring balances after 3 days? Now this one is going to remain the same because there is no leaves, there is no transpiration, there is nothing. So it's just going to remain the same. And over here, this one is going to actually decrease because there is transpiration, which is going to lose water vapor and it's going to lose some weight. So we're going to be choosing this one is going to be decreased, and this one is going to remain the same because, as I said, there is no leaves, and this is going to decrease because of the of the transpiration. So our answer is going to be B. 18. The diagram shows a section through a human heart. Which blood vessel is the pulmonary vein? Now we know that the pulmonary vein is the vein that is returning from the lungs and it has oxygenated blood. So actually this is going to be D. 19. Which part of the blood contains hemoglobin? Of course we know this is the red blood cells. Number 20. What are the approximate percentages of oxygen and carbon dioxide in inspired air? Now we know that in inspired air we have more oxygen than carbon dioxide. In the carbon dioxide there is 0.04 inhaled, and then exhaled it's going to be 4%, and the inhaled oxygen is going to be 20 and the exhaled is going to be 16%. So this is the numbers that you should know from the respiration lesson. So C is going to be our answer. 21. Which environmental conditions must always be present for seed germination? Now we know that for seed germination we don't require light, and we require water, we require oxygen, and we also require suitable temperature. So we need to choose an option that has any two of the ones that I have mentioned now. So this is going to be D, water and oxygen. 22. The diagram shows part of the excretory system. What is structure X? Now we know that structure as X is actually the ureter. So our answer is going to be C. 23. The diagram shows a reflex arc. Which structure is the sensory neuron? It's actually from the receptor, and it actually transports the impulse to the relay neuron. So we're going to be choosing A because this is the one that is after the receptors, as we know that it first goes from receptor and then it goes to sensory and then it goes to relay and then motor and then effector. So this is actually the order. 24. The diagram shows the structure of the eye. Which structure refracts light? Now we know that the refraction of light is actually done by the cornea, so we're going to be choosing A for this question. 25. Which disease can be caused by a lack of vitamin C? Now we know, of course, the AIDS is not a lack of vitamin C. Coronary heart disease, of course not. This is actually by malnutrition. Rickets, it's going to be no. This is actually for the vitamin D. And finally, scurvy, which is our answer. Number 26. What is formed when the nucleus of a sperm fuses with the nucleus of an egg? Now, of course, it's not going to form a gamete because actually gamete is something like the sperm and the egg. So it's not going to form a gamete at all. Ovule is, again, the female reproductive, or it's equivalent to the egg in the human. It's actually the ovule in the plant. So it's considered to be something like a gamete, so of course not. The stamen is the male reproductive part of the flower in the plant, so no. Zygote actually is going to be our answer because it is a double chromosome, or it has two sets of chromosomes. So this is going to be our answer. 27, the diagram shows part of a flower. Where does fertilization occur? Now, of course, we know that fertilization occurs in the, like over here in this part where the male gamete will come over here like this, and then it will fuse with the female gametes that are already in the ovary. So it's going to be D. 28, the diagram shows the female reproductive system. Where does implantation normally occur? Now, of course, we know that implantation occurs in the endometrium lining or in the lining of the uterus, so it's going to be C. 29, the diagram shows a timeline of a woman's menstrual cycle which lasts for 28 days. On which days of the menstrual cycle is a woman most likely to ovulate? Now, of course, it's going to be during the 15th day of the cycle or the 14th day. So it's going to be actually some days that are around this period. So it's going to be C, 13 to 16 over here. 30, the human immunodeficiency virus, HIV, can be transmitted in body fluid. Some examples of body fluids are listed: blood, saliva, semen, and tear fluid. Which body fluids can transmit HIV? Now, of course, HIV can't be spread around with saliva. And of course, it's not going to be transmitted through the tear fluids, which are tears. So our answer is going to be 1 and 3, which is actually C. 31, the information shows what happens during some of the stages of sexual reproduction in a human: egg plus sperm, fertilized egg, male embryo. Which sex chromosome are present in the egg, sperm, and fertilized egg shown? Now, of course, we know that the females actually have XX chromosome, and the male has XY chromosome. Now, in the sperm, it's going to be X or Y. So there is no way that the sperm is going to have both the X or the Y, because as we know that the sperm is a single chromosome. It doesn't have two pairs of chromosome, it's just one. So it's going to have either X or Y. And in the female, it's going to always be X because she has XX, which is it has no possibility of getting a Y chromosome. So there is no way that the egg is going to have Y. So C and D are completely incorrect options. We're going to be choosing between A and B over here. A says the egg has X, the sperm has Y. It's going to be Y because we know that the male has X and Y. So if it's XX, now this is going to be a female. But in the question, they're asking about the male over here. So our answer is going to be B because this indicates a male. 32, the genetic diagram shows a monohybrid cross. H is dominant allele and H lowercase is recessive allele. Which of the parents of the offspring are heterozygous? Now let's see. Now over here, number 1, it was parent genotypes. They had H, and this is H, and this is going to be H recessive. This is going to be heterozygous. So of course we're going to be crossing these together and seeing which of the offspring is going to give us heterozygous. Now the first offspring is going to be heterozygous, and the second one is also going to be heterozygous. The rest of them are going to be recessive. So we're going to be choosing actually this one, number 3, and we're going to be choosing number 4, number 1, because it has the capital H and the lowercase h, so it's going to be 1, 3, and 4, which is actually A. 33, the graph shows the distribution of characteristic in a population. Which characteristic is shown by the curve? Now, of course, this is a symmetrical curve over here, or a graph. So this indicates that this is going to be continuous variation. So also we know that it's going to be continuous because, of course, there is extremities. Over here, there is the lower and the higher, or the upper. What I mean by that is there is some heights that are higher than usual, and there is some heights that are lower than usual, and there is some intermediates, and of course there is a lot of like numbers of the continuous variation compared to the limited numbers in the discontinuous variation. So we're going to be choosing actually B. 34. The dates are type of a fruit. The table shows some features of the dates as a farmer grows. The farmer would like to produce a new variety of date using selective breeding. He wants a medium-sized date that is straw-colored and soft with high yield. Which two varieties can the farmer breed together to get the variety he wants? Okay, so first let's highlight the things that the farmer wants. They want medium-sized, they want straw-colored, soft, and high yield. So of course we know that this species, Thuri, is going to be with us. That is because it's straw colored as the farmer wants, and it's medium to large size, and it's dry and the yield is medium, but maybe that can be fixed by maybe breeding it with another species that has high yield and soft texture, which is exactly this species, Barhide Amber, and it has soft texture and high yield, and it has small to medium, which actually we need soft texture and high yield, which the farmer requires. So actually we're going to be choosing these two species, so our answer is going to be B for this question. 35. The diagram shows a woodland food web. Which statement is correct? Now A says the rabbit and frog are both herbivores. Now, the frog isn't a herbivore. This is actually maybe a carnivore, the frog. So this statement is incorrect. B says the fox and the hawk are both secondary consumers. Now, the fox is, yes, it's actually a secondary consumer. This is the primary and this is the secondary. And the hawk is actually, this is the primary, secondary, and this is the tertiary. So, no, it's not going to be B. C is saying the frog is a tertiary consumer. Now, no, the frog is actually a secondary consumer, so this is not also correct. D is saying the rabbit and the snail are both primary consumers. This is actually correct because, as I said here, it's primary consumer, and this is also here a primary consumer because these are the producers. So D. 36. The table shows processes in the carbon cycle that releases carbon dioxide into the air or remove carbon dioxide from the air. Which row is correct? Now we know that the removal of carbon dioxide from the air is actually done by photosynthesis. So actually our answer is going to be A because this is the only row where there is photosynthesis, which is actually the correct answer as removal of carbon dioxide from the air. So A is going to be the correct answer. 37. The graph shows a population growth curve for a species of insect which has been introduced to an island. How long after the introduction does the insect population start to be limited by resources such as food? Now over here it's going to be starting from the point where stationary phase has started, which is around 200 days. This is where the population has started to be like stationary over here, or it's becoming to like decrease. So over here we can see that it decreased over here after day 200. So over here it was increasing until there was a change in day 200. So actually our answer is going 38. What is the negative impact of large-scale monocultures? Now, of course, we know that this is going to decrease the variety of the plants. So, of course, this is one negative impact. So, let's read the options. A says crops need harvesting at the same time. Now, this is actually not a negative impact of large scale, so no. B says that monocultures produce different types of food. This is not actually something that is a negative impact. So let's read C. Monocultures produce more food. Now this is actually advantage, not a negative impact. So no. C says the genetic variation of organism is reduced. Now this is actually correct, and I have said this before even reading the options. We know that the main thing that is negative about large-scale monocultures is the decrease of genetic variation. 39. What could help to prevent the species from becoming endangered? Now we know that there was a list of things that can be done to prevent the extinction of a species, such as maybe maintaining the genetic pool, or maybe maintaining or preserving their habitats, and maybe doing some captive breeding programs. So that is just a couple of things that can be done to preserve a species from becoming endangered. So let's read the options. Captive breeding program. Now, yes, this is part of the things that I have said now. So our answer is going to be A. Now, B is not going to work because actually this is going to destroy the habitat of some of the species that are living in the trees, maybe. So, no. Introduction of other species. Now, this is going to make some competition, and maybe it's going to decrease the food or the resources for the species that you are trying to not make endangered. D, pollution, of course not. So 40, what is an example of genetic modification? So let's read the options. A says inserting genes into bacteria. Now, this is actually correct because we know that we insert genes or human DNA into bacteria in order for the bacteria to create insulin. So actually, our answer is going to be A. Now, why not B? Inserting insulin into bacteria? Of course not. We're not inserting the insulin into bacteria. We're actually creating the insulin by the bacteria. Now, C is saying spraying plants with herbicides. This is not genetic modification, nor is D using biological washing powders. So thank you all for watching. Please make sure to subscribe and like my videos in order to support this channel. And good luck with your exams.